What's going on, folks? J-Kun Prime here with a slightly different video than I normally do. So if you've been watching my streams as of late, you have seen that I have become absolutely obsessed with Returnal. This game is crack in video game form. I literally cannot get enough of it. But I've also been seeing some other people struggle with getting their footing in this game. So I'm going to give you all some of the helpful tips that I've kind of figured out along the way that will hopefully get you through this hostile alien world in one piece. Or at least as few pieces as possible. But before we dive in, as always, if you could leave a like rating on the video, it shows your support and it really helps the videos out. And if you're new to the channel and want more Returnal coverage, including replays of some of my best runs and more, I got you covered. Just hit that subscribe button and tap the bell, that way you always know when I have new content for you. And be sure to hit up my Twitch, Discord, and other social media down in the descriptions below. So, okay, here goes. This is the first and biggest tip I can give, and honestly, it's the most important. You are going to die a lot. Make peace with it. This game is a roguelike, slash roguelite, whichever you call it. I don't know, I can't keep up with it. But the point of this game is the gameplay, for the most part, is going to be randomized. You may see the same areas, but you're not going to see them in the same way twice. Death is the catalyst of this game. It progresses the plot. It opens new areas. It puts you on the path to finding permanent item unlocks that the story requires you to find. So don't get discouraged if you find yourself dying repeatedly. It's literally how this game is built, and you'll eventually get the hang of it. The next tip is explore everything. I've been seeing a lot of people say make a beeline for the objective marker and ignore everything else, to which I very politely say, screw that. This game is built for exploration and character building. All around each biome you enter are areas and items that can help or hinder your progress, so it is definitely within your benefit to search every nook and cranny of this world before heading into that boss room, because if your luck is anything like mine, that one room you ignored is going to have the item you needed for your build that was going to tip the scale in your favor against the boss, and you didn't get it. So sad for you. But since we have now mentioned that some items can hinder, now is a good time to talk about malignant items and suit malfunctions. Every now and then you're going to encounter items and chests that are labeled as malignant, that you can cleanse with ether in order to safely pick them up, or you can roll the dice and risk getting a suit malfunction and just pick up the item without cleansing it. These are 100% a dice roll. Let me repeat that. These are 100% a dice roll. Suit malfunctions are going to affect you in various ways. Some are negligible, and others are absolutely crippling. My personal advice is save your ether and only roll the dice on malignant items with a moderate risk or lower. Anything higher than that will generally not be worth the risk. And since now that we've mentioned ether, let's go ahead and talk about that and its other friend obolites in my next tip, which is spend your money. You can't take it with you. Okay, so this is only half true. So while ether does carry over from run to run, the other currency in the game, known as obolites, do not. Obolites are used to use the fabricators that you're going to find throughout the game that are going to make items for you. Some of these are going to come in clutch big time, like the spaceman figure, for example. So don't be bashful with this currency, as you're getting it literally all the time from random drops and killing enemies. As I mentioned before, it has multiple uses, but in my opinion, the best use for ether, at least in the early game, is with the obelisk at the crash site at the start of the game. For every 3 ether you give it, it's going to give you an item you haven't discovered yet to permanently unlock into rotation. I don't think this is a big deal with how this game is, but since it's there, let's go ahead and mention it. You can also use ether to power up checkpoints within each biome. I personally don't use these because the checkpoint is only specifically for that biome. So if you leave that biome and die in another one, you're not going to come back to that checkpoint. You're just going to come back to the ship. So I would say use the checkpoints sparingly, since if you get to another world, it's going to be very easy to get back to that other world right from the ship. So save your ether, use it at the obelisk at the crash site instead. But I honestly feel like these are a waste, but I've mentioned it, so whatever, moving on. Use what you are comfortable with, but don't ignore stats. I can't stress this enough in this game. Weapons will make or break you in Returnal. There are plenty to choose from, many different stats and perks will appear on these weapons, from homing projectiles to explosive rounds to guns that are just inherently going to make you more tanky. But use what you're comfortable with using. Just because it has better perks, which at the time of this recording I'm pretty sure the best stat you can get right now is bonus damage, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be effective with it. So my final tip is going to be, do not, and I repeat, do not neglect your dash and melee. Yes, I know. Big bad boss just turned the room into a bullet hell and your first instinct is to back up. How about instead you dash forward and smack them around a little? How about that? Melee in this game is geared towards being more of a tool than an attack, but melee is going to one-shot smaller enemies and easily stun bigger enemies and bosses. And a fun fact about your dash, it's projectile immune when it's active. Enemies and bosses are going to have patterns, so pay attention to them, and when they shoot, you dash and shove that melee right down their throat. So those are all the tips I can think of right now for this game. I hope this was a help to all of you, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate the support. Now get back in there, mind your surroundings, pay attention to your radar, and remember, practice makes perfect. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.